Hi, and welcome to the Scott and Jess Show. This is our very first episode, and I believe we have a YouTube intro for you to watch.
Okay, here we go. It's loading.
You're hanging out on air with Scott, and I'm Jess. And Scott, how about if you take a minute to introduce yourself, since this is our first show ever?
My name is Scott from Social Media for Healthier Communities from Seattle, Washington. And we're all really big fans of Google+, and that's why we're here.
And so I met Scott on a hangout and then found out we were both in Seattle. He was teasing me about it raining, and I called him on it.
Well, it was supposed to be raining, and I like the idea of letting everyone in the world know that this is not the place to move. Nice place to visit, but not to move. It's always cloudy, right, Jess?
It's always cloudy, like today. So our program overview, we are going to bring a topic to you every week that will affect you in a positive way as an entrepreneur, freelancer, manager of some sort. So to get started today, we're talking about being a freelancer. So the title of our show, Freelancer since 2013, Do It Now or Die. And what that means and how that can impact your business today, but definitely in the near future, in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's almost as if there's a sea change. It's almost as if the Earth is turning on not its axis, but turning on its pole and turning upside down. There was a study a few years ago that said that by the year 2020, 40 to 50% of all employment in this country is going to be freelance. No longer is it going to be that a person has a job for 30 years and that's their career. I grew up when, well, you might have 3 or 4 or 5 jobs, but one career. But our children, and maybe even we ourselves, it's going to be 2 or 3 or 4 careers that we're going to have sequentially, maybe even simultaneously. If that's what it's going to be, what are the rules going to be, and how can we embrace it, and how can we make it our own? There's a person whose name is Mitch Joel. He wrote a book, and he recently published it, called Control, Alt, Delete, and this is a major part of the topic. So we're going to give this a try, first time with this YouTube app for Hangout on Air, and we'll see if it works. So let's go.
So I believe in a few things. I believe in the generosity of sharing ideas. I believe in the power of books as a substantial document that can make a difference. I believe in the authenticity of actually doing the work as opposed to just talking about it. And I believe that making change happen is one of the most important things we can do as people. And for all those reasons, I believe in Mitch Joel. Come on up, Mitch.
Thanks. How do you take a look at a world where, the next 5 years are going to be very, very different for all of us at work? It's going to be very, very dramatic. I think there's going to be a lot more disruption.
So let's start with there. Is our careers over?
I think the construct of what we thought a career was has fundamentally changed. When we sort of think about what a career is, we have to reimagine it. And the reason I say that is because I came from a time, and I know you did too, where people did have that. They worked for 30 years, and you sort of fingers crossed that nobody screwed up and you get your pension. We transitioned really quickly into this place where people had 5 or 6 different jobs in their careers. Where we net it out, I think, and it's sort of just seeing the beginning of this now, is I think we're going to have people who are going to have 4 to 5 different careers in their lifetime now.
Right.
So that projects me to say, yeah, a career as we've known it has completely changed. I don't think we've ever had in the history of business a moment like this, where as an individual you could do these amazing things that you could never do before and actually call it a career, or actually call it work, or actually be compensated for it the way we have. There are certain people who are trying to create the industry that doesn't yet exist. And I think that that's the right posture, versus people who are mitigating risks and trying to minimize mistakes as they gain success. And success for me typically is mostly financial and no other way, because the one thing entrepreneurs don't want to risk is the money part, usually.
Part of the answer to your question, sir, is the trade to the entrepreneur today is it's 1,000 times cheaper to be in business, 1,000 than it was when my dad started his company, literally 1,000. So we expect that there's going to be a trade-off, and the trade-off is that thing you built isn't going to last like it used to. It used to be you built a hospital crib factory and it was going to have a 50-year run. Now you're going to build some clever thing online that only cost you $100, and maybe it's only going to last 2 months, and then you're going to squiggle and do the next thing. We need to teach our kids to do that same thing.
And I talk about the fact that I don't want my child to be bilingual, and it's very stressful to say that in Montreal, Quebec, and I say I want my kid to be trilingual. English, French, and can you guess what the third language is? It's code.
But what books are fabulous at is being able to walk into your coworkers in your boss's office and go like that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all wrapped up, it's official, and it's ready to go. So one of the things I'm hoping is that the people who see this will buy 4, not 1, because that's what it is. What it is this device that you can throw on someone else's desk and start a conversation. And I think it needs to be said that that's what you set out to do, because it worked.
So going back to our topic, what it means to have a career today and what it's going to mean to have a career tomorrow. For us, how do we adapt and take advantage of that opportunity for the emerging changes in the workplace today, and being able to then mentor not only people near and dear to us, but in parenting and helping our children make decisions and set their goals. How can we be supportive of that, knowing that this is the era of a new work opportunity?
Kids are learning the internet and how to speak a language that is increasingly foreign to us. Someone once said, technology changes at the speed of internet time, and relationships develop in real time. So there's just a whole new culture out there that we're going to have to figure out how to adapt to. And I'll bet you that the children, our children who are either two years old or 13 or up to 21 or 22, I guess the cerebral cortex kicks in around age 26. All of those people are going to feel like this is the new norm, and they'll be able to take care of it just fine. But what does that mean for the workplace? Are employers going to be able to just keep on employing as they have before, or is it going to be different? And is it going to be to benefit of the worker, or is there a power shift that's going on because all of a sudden the means for production information are more broadly shared? What do you think, Jess?
I think, thinking about it, I still think for a lot of people it's going to be easier to be employed than it is to freelance because of the amount of skills that you have to have. And so I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. When we're thinking about the whole idea of freelancing and what that means, whether it's in one career or many careers, right? So for me, I've had what I would consider at least 3 very strong careers in 3 very different areas. And I just got muted, so that was weird. So I just... Oh! Okay, so something on YouTube just automatically started again. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to go back to... I'm going to go... Yeah, I know, I just had a video start. That's pretty funny. We're going to learn this because not only do we want to do the Google Hangout piece and not only do we want to be on air, we also want to try things that are typically unusual in other broadcasts, like incorporating YouTube videos in addition to the conversation. So going back to our conversation about employment, whether you have one career at one company or one career in an industry that takes you across multiple companies, you've honed that skill. And I think what we're seeing, and especially with the rise of the freelancers that are out there, what we see, there are so many more skills that we have to have. We come from a company where we're surrounded by collaboration. We have people on our team, or if we're a department of one in a smaller company and we're still wearing many hats, we have other people that we work with that help carry the weight. And then when we're freelancers and when we're our entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, when we're doing it all on our own, we now have the responsibility of figuring out how to manage and strategize and incorporate and execute and implement all of the things that teams typically do. And so while it's easier to become a freelancer and to really use your skills, I actually think it's harder to freelance and harder to be an entrepreneur today because of how many skills you have to be successful.
So I'm going to put forward that there's going to be a way that there'll be an infrastructure that's going to be created to support freelancers so that they don't have to be generalists at the expense of being specialty, and that they would be able to almost like just-in-time projects. So there's something that has to happen. People will form around that. They'll be able to collaborate, and now they can collaborate on air, and then disperse, and someone is going to make a business out of making that the easiest thing in the world to do for them. What do you think?
You know, I actually think, Scott, that you're onto something, because, I mean, think about us. We each have our own businesses, and we came together to do something fun, new, and exciting, and we're going to continue to have our own businesses, and we're going to collaborate on this, and I actually think that there is a value of having the ability to utilize the networks that we are building through our blogging and through our social media and through our LinkedIn accounts and our in-person networking that are really going to support and allow that type of infrastructure to happen. And I think it's going to be spontaneous, a little bit more like what you said. And in fact, it's already occurring in many fashions. So how do we just being aware that it's there and knowing that that's the trend and the opportunity, that we can take advantage of that?
Now that's a $64 question, isn't it?
And that goes back to why it's a little harder to be an entrepreneur, because sometimes we're entrepreneurs because we're control freaks. And sometimes we're entrepreneurs because we want to be in control or in charge. And sometimes we listen to other people and that little voice in our brain that says, we're so good at what we're doing, why are we helping somebody else make their living too? Why don't we just make more money doing what we love? Whichever voice that is talking to us is the one that we have to temper.
And sometimes we are freelancers because the larger landscape is not hospitable to us. It might be, well, more women go into small business and more women are freelancers because there are fewer opportunities for women in the marketplace than there are for men. That's just a fact of life. Those older adults, baby boomers, who for whatever reason are finding that they are needing to move on in life in terms of vocationally, they can't retire, but they, for whatever reason, are not continuing on in the job or the career that they were in before. What are they going to do? They're going to go into business for themselves. They're going to freelance. They're going to do whatever's necessary. And incidentally, those who are older adults who do that are going to exercise their brains, and they are going to be more robust, and they'll have a higher quality of life and live longer. So there.
I like it, and that's it. So there. You're absolutely right. And actually, I think that the quality of life piece of it is important no matter what age you are, because if you forget to use part of your brain, you do get stuck in a rut. And being able to use other parts of your brain avoid burnout. They avoid that black hole of places where it's just like, really, I have to do this again today? And it always, by exercising our brains, we're able to see more opportunities. And I think that increased quality of life also takes it back to being able to it ties directly back to what you were talking about the just-in-time gathering of information and people coming together when we need it and then disbanding when we're done, and being able to be completely supportive and collaborative and really have a good time and contribute in a positive way to whatever the project is for.
Bingo. Well said, Jess. Well said. Well, I'm not sure. Does it feel like we're about ready to wrap up the show, or did we want to go into the E-Myth at all?
Oh, E-Myth is one of my favorite books. How about if we touch on it? We have a few minutes that we could talk about it, and this actually ties directly into our conversation, because when we are freelancers, we tend to, most of us apparently, like upwards of above 80% of us, tend to, when we go into business, we were a technician at what we were doing. So we were doing something and we were really, really good at it. And now we're going to do it on our own. And we forget about all the other strategy pieces. We forget about the entrepreneur piece that's necessary, the strategy. Where are we going? What are we trying to do? And we forget about the manager things. I've got to make sure I pay my bills, and I've got to make sure I send out my invoices, and I've got to make sure my doors are open, and I've got to make sure I'm checking my email, and all those types of tasks, and how do we balance those out? So if most of us that are going into business for ourselves are on the technician side, it becomes harder for us to think strategically, because we're so enveloped in doing what we love that we end up not being able to see some of those other opportunities. And one of the things that the E-Myth talks about are the 3 personalities that are required. So when we are in business for ourselves, what are the 3 things that we need? We need the technician. That is what got the idea started. We need the manager to make sure stuff is going to be organized and get done and we have product to actually give to people. And we need the entrepreneur side to be able to think to the future, to think about what do we need to do and what are the opportunities and how do we interact with our clients and formulate our presence in the marketplace. So I know you've read a little bit about the E-Myth. How do you think some of those ideas tie back into our topic of freelancing in 2013?
You go into business because you love something. You like baking, or you like dancing, or you like accounting, or whatever. Go for it. Somehow there's got to be a sweet spot where you balance those, and where you can't balance it, then you bring someone on board who can help you with it, and hope that you like them. Right?
Well, hope that you like them and are also able to let go a little bit, but not let go too much, because what tends to happen is we do all the work and we go, oh, we need some help, and we bring somebody on, and then we just give them everything and go back to doing what we love, being the technician, and we forget that we've got to be involved and drive the business, because we may not end up knowing what's going on or understanding the outcome. So that's some of the stuff that the E-Myth talks about when we're thinking about that, are balancing all those pieces, becoming skilled, and you're right, cognizance of all of the knowledge that's there, and being able to do it in such a way that we can be successful. And even though the internet moves so fast, our businesses don't have to evolve that fast, but they have to be adaptable to take advantage of the marketplace, because you said one thing that I'd like to reiterate, and that is, if something is hot now, or the opportunity is right now, if we don't grasp it right now, that's okay, but we also may not want to plan to grasp it in the future. We may just be like, well, that's not for us, and wait for the next thing that's going to come out. But don't put it on your to-do list. Just wait till you're ready, and then figure out what the strategy is to take advantage of what's in the moment that makes sense for the business.
Yeah, I think you're alluding to one of my favorite quotes, the great when Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is going to be, don't skate to where it is right now.
The next piece of our program, we're calling it the +2 takeaway. And the +2 takeaway, Scott, do we want to try and play the video?
Well, we'd like to try and play the video. I'm going to try and do it a different way. So
okay.
if you'll just talk for just like 30 seconds, I'm going to see if we can come up with a plan B.
Absolutely. For those of you, since this is our first broadcast, you're going to learn a little bit of the layout of how this is going to flow. And so that our main topic was freelancing in 2013, some of the challenges, some of the issues. We want to hear from you. So whether you're sharing on whether you're sharing on our event page, whether you're sharing on our Jess and Scott show page, send us an email, post some links to some articles that you wrote that support this topic. We'd love to have a resource section around each one of our events with relevant information for our viewers and for you guys, our community. So this is Lumosity.com, and this is one of the things where I came across this because people kept telling me about it, and I'm like, what? I don't know. I'm not quite sure about this. And then I started playing, and they're games that help you use different parts of your brain all the time so that you can get better at overall skills that you're practicing and become more cognizant in social interactions, whether they're digital or in person. This particular game actually happens to be the crux of my existence right now. So a little bit about me. I don't really know my left from my right very well. If I tell you to turn right and I'm the passenger in the car, that typically means turn left, and I'm literally in the moment exactly opposite of what needs to be. So one of the games is to help you do better at focusing and to help you navigate around a little bit better and see what's going on. And this game is called Penguin Pursuit at Lumosity. You're a penguin and you're competing against another penguin and you're going through a maze. After the first couple of levels, it plays a trick on you. And then what it ends up doing is the arrow that you see, that's the up key. So as you were originally going to go up and left and right, that's great when the arrow's up. But as soon as the arrow turns counterclockwise 90 degrees or turns 3/4 of a circle or turns counterclockwise, and it'll do that throughout the game, and you still have to beat the other penguin and get you some points. Now, I've been playing this for a couple of months, and I can immediately already tell you, I know I navigate better in the car, and I actually know my left from my right. Way back when I was in kindergarten and they wanted to hold me back because I didn't know my left and my right, they should have introduced me to this game, and I would be a whole different person today. But the best opportunity is I am the person I am today because of all of the experiences that happened to me, and I'm still going to learn my left from my right in my mid-30s. It's fun to be able to illustrate, and so whether it's brain games, word games, math games, to really help hone the skills that you already have and to help you take a fresh look at problems when they arise and strategies that you're starting to work on and stuff that might not be moving as fast as you want, things that really help you use different parts of your brain are going to, it's almost like singing in the shower. The best ideas come when you first wake up in the morning or when you're in the shower. I think the same is true for doing something like this in the middle of the workday. You're already at your computer, you need a 5-minute break. Head over to Lumosity, play one of their free games, create an account if you want. You can play them all for free.
So good,
anyway,
good for you.
it goes back to, I totally sidetracked into my personal story, and really what this is about is taking it back to how can you use it in your business and open up your eyes to be able to see opportunities where they don't necessarily first appear to be.
In the maze, but out of the box.
Yes!
Okay.
That's exactly right. Thanks for watching me play that game and making that fun little video that we saw on the screen, because that was, it's fun to be able to illustrate.
Why don't we just call it a show right now and congratulate ourselves for getting through to this far in the program, and we'll rehuddle and figure out what our next program is going to be between programs. How's that sound?
I think that sounds fabulous. So stay tuned. Come back to the Jess and Scott show page. Check out Jess and Scott individually. Join our circles. We would love to circle you and connect with you so that you can stay up to date about our next shows and our topics and our guests.